The idea that Meghan Markle releasing a cookbook would be a mistake says far more about outdated expectations placed on women than it does about Meghan herself. When you strip away the cynicism and the recycled media talking points, what you are really looking at is a woman being scrutinized for doing what countless men and women in the public eye have done without half the backlash. Meghan Markle is not jumping on a trend. She is expanding a narrative she has been building for well over a decade, and doing so on her own terms. First, it is important to address the claim that cookbooks are oversaturated, and therefore Meghan should stay away. Bookshops are oversaturated with celebrity memoirs, podcasts, fashion lines, skincare, brands and wellness apps, yet no one argues that public figures should stop creating altogether. Oversaturation does not eliminate opportunity. It simply demands clarity of voice. Meghan has never been interested in blending in. Whether through The Tig, her Netflix work, or Archewell, she consistently approaches lifestyle storytelling through a lens of intention, connection and values. A cookbook from Meghan would not exist in isolation. It would sit within a broader ecosystem of storytelling, culture and community. Much has been made of Meghan reinventing herself as a host or trade wife figure, but that framing is deeply reductive. Hosting is not submission. Domesticity is not a retreat. For Meghan, hospitality has always been about creating space for conversation, safety and belonging. Long before she met Prince Harry, Meghan was writing about food farmers' markets and shared meals on the Tig. She was profiling women-owned food businesses, highlighting cultural recipes and exploring food as a connector. That platform was shut down when she became a working royal, but the interest never disappeared. The idea that cooking has never been central to Meghan's life ignores the reality that much of her early lifestyle work was erased or dismissed once she entered the royal family. She was not allowed to continue the Tig, not because it lacked credibility, but because it conflicted with royal protocol. To now say she lacks authenticity because she was forced to abandon that platform is disingenuous. Let us address the first major criticism that Meghan wants to be taken seriously as a philanthropist and therefore should not release a cookbook. This argument relies on a false hierarchy where domestic creativity is seen as incompatible with serious global work. Meghan and Harry have consistently rejected that binary. Archewell philanthropies and creative projects have always existed side by side. One does not cancel out the other. In fact, many of the most impactful philanthropists use storytelling, culture and food to humanize their work. Food is one of the most universal entry points into discussions about community equity, sustainability and well-being. A cookbook does not negate Meghan's philanthropic ambitions, it can complement them. It can highlight ethical sourcing, women-led food businesses, cultural traditions, and the emotional power of shared meals. To suggest that a woman must choose between intellect impact and homemaking is a deeply gendered critique that would rarely be applied to a man. The rebranding of Archewell into Archewell Philanthropies signals focus, not restriction. It shows that Harry and Meghan are clarifying their mission around digital safety, responsible technology and community resilience. Meghan releasing a cookbook does not distract from that work any more than Harry producing a documentary distracts from Invictus. They are multidimensional people, not single-issue symbols. The second argument often raised is that Meghan hosted more experienced chefs on her Netflix show, therefore she should not write a cookbook. This misunderstands the purpose of that show entirely. The point was never to position Meghan as a Michelin-level chef. It was to explore curiosity, learning and joy. Hosting skilled chefs was a strength, not a weakness. It demonstrated humility, collaboration and respect for expertise. Most successful home cookbooks are not written by professional chefs. They are written by people who translate food into everyday life. The fact that Meghan openly said she was trying things for the first time made the show relatable, not fraudulent. Many viewers appreciated seeing someone learn rather than pretend to be perfect. Cooking is not a competition, it is a practice. The fixation on basic dishes like single-skillet spaghetti reveals another double standard. When male celebrities share simple comfort food, it is praised as approachable. When Meghan does the same, it is mocked. Simplicity does not equal incompetence. It often reflects an understanding of how real people cook in real homes. The viral moment involving canning tongs is a perfect example of how trivial scrutiny becomes when applied to Meghan. A single photo was turned into a referendum on her authenticity. No one pauses to consider that photo shoots are staged, that tools are props, or that mistakes happen. The outrage was disproportionate and telling. It was never about the tongs, it was about policing her presence. The third concern is that a cookbook would look like Meghan jumping on a celebrity trend. But Meghan has never rushed to market. Every project she has released has taken years, not months. Her Netflix series was developed slowly. As Ever was teased long before launch. Archewell took time to define its structure. Meghan is cautious, not impulsive. If she releases a cookbook, it will not be because it is trendy, but because it aligns with her broader storytelling. She has always emphasized intentional living, warmth, and connection. A cookbook fits naturally into that narrative. The assumption that it would be a cash grab ignores the reality that Meghan does not need to prove commercial viability. Her name alone guarantees attention. What she consistently tries to do is shape the conversation around that attention. Price point criticisms also miss the mark. Meghan has never claimed to be a budget brand. She operates in a space that blends accessibility with aspiration. That is true of countless lifestyle brands that are widely respected. Readers are capable of understanding that a cookbook can be aspirational while still offering simple, adaptable recipes. The idea that it must be either luxury or relatable is a false dichotomy. The final argument centers on narrative fatigue. That Meghan's story has been told too many times and that a cookbook would simply recycle the same anecdotes. This assumes that people cannot evolve or reinterpret their experiences through different lenses. Storytelling is not static. Food allows stories to be told differently, through culture, memory, and ritual rather than chronology. If anything, Meghan has rarely been allowed to tell her story in her own voice without distortion. A cookbook offers a softer, more intimate medium. It does not need to rehash royal drama. It can focus on healing creativity and everyday life beyond the headlines. That is not redundancy, it is reframing. More importantly, Meghan is not obligated to cater to critics who claim fatigue. She is speaking to an audience that remains deeply engaged and curious. Millions of people continue to follow her work because they see sincerity and growth. The idea that she should stop creating because some are tired of hearing from her is absurd. Public interest is not a finite resource controlled by gatekeepers. At its core, the backlash against a potential Meghan Markle cookbook is about control. Who gets to create? Who gets to evolve? And who is allowed to exist beyond a single narrative? Meghan has spent years being told what she should and should not do. Every pivot is labelled a mistake before it even happens. Yet time and again she proves that she is not here to be palatable. She is here to be purposeful. Prince Harry's support in all of this matters. He has consistently stood beside Meghan not as a passive partner, but as someone who understands the cost of public life. Together, they have chosen a path that blends creativity, activism, and family. A cookbook is not a retreat from seriousness. It is an expansion of humanity. The real question is not whether Meghan should release a cookbook. It is why the idea unsettles so many people. Why a woman cannot be a philanthropist and a storyteller, a mother and a businesswoman, a public figure and a private human being. Meghan Markle represents that complexity, and that is precisely why she continues to provoke conversation. If she releases a cookbook, it will not define her. It will simply be one more chapter written on her own terms. And that has always been the part that critics struggle with the most.